Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Lunch and Learn special edition. We are looking at Airbnb. We're going live on Facebook, I think we're Instagram. I think the team have set that up. So live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you guys are watching live, put in any questions as they come through. If you're watching on a replay and your question did not get answered, then please feel free to reach out. So we are here. We have a full complement of people here at Pillow HQ. The formal fiber, super fast broadband isn't in, so hopefully we can stream it live and uninterrupted. We've got a lot of team in here today. Airbnb summer updates. What are we covering? We're going to be looking at 4 things here. For those that know the industry, every summer and winter, Airbnb will do a release. They're doing a few different things here. One, they are telling you their new focus, some new tweaks to the user interface, features, etc. We're going to be looking at the Q1 results. They share the financial results. Now, I'm not going to dig too deep into the results. Hey, it's Airbnb. It's a massive company. The numbers are absolutely massive, so they don't really mean anything to us as individual operators. But what it does do is give us an indication in the overall market and how it is performing worldwide. Again, we can take some elements out of that. I've distilled this. I've looked at the shareholder report as well. This is what they give to people who have invested, who own part of Airbnb. This is them telling not just the shareholders, but the world about the financial and other performance metrics within Airbnb. And I'm going to give my analysis and all of that and some predictions. I've watched the videos of the announcements of the summer release. I've had a little look at some of the new properties are launching, some of the new features. I've done a deep dive. I'm just going to share all that in 15 or 20 minutes with you guys. Some things we're not going to dig too deep into. I'm not going to go into all the new guest features they have. As you may imagine, if you've had any dealings with Airbnb, heavily guest focused, not so much for the hosts. But I'm going to distill that few hours research I've done on what Airbnb are announcing, the future plans, the 3 focuses when they're moving forward of how Airbnb is developing as a company. I'm just going to give that to you guys. So firstly, a nice bit of news here, guys. Let me bring that slide up. In a few days, I'm so excited, we will be having the official launch of our Centre of Excellence here and our charity. Let me put a little link in for you guys. You'd be welcome to come along to that. Let me just put that comment in there. Now, if you're not in Glasgow and you say, I can't come to your Centre of Excellence, I am too far away, not to worry at all, guys. I think that'll go in the chat wherever you are watching. Please click that after this. You don't need to come. There's 2 things you can do to help and support us there. Number 1, hey, come along, that'd be fantastic. But number 2, you get a free ticket on Eventbrite. But if you wanted to make a small donation, let's say a few pounds, £5, you can pick a charity ticket. That means you may not come, but you can still make a £10 donation by choosing the charity option. Does that make sense? You can come along for free, of course. We'd love as many people as possible. I think we need to max it out at 100. We've got 100 people registered. Not all will turn up. So there's probably a few more spaces just for health and safety. But guys, if you wanted to support the Pillow Safe Havens charity, if you get any value from this, in fact, just give a few pounds, buy a charity ticket there. And it's a Centre of Excellence as well. So we're going to be launching lots of cool stuff. What else? Well, I'm off tomorrow. We're off to Birmingham to exhibit and speak at the Landlord Investment Show. Let me put a little link in for that. The tickets are free for that. The Pillow team will be exhibiting, so you can please come and see us. I will be speaking, I believe it's 11:30. I just turn up to these things and do what I'm told and speak. So there we go. The Landlord Investment Show, Birmingham. That's at Villa Park. Nice and easy to get to. Parking's free. Tickets are free. Come and meet myself and the team, and that is this Wednesday. So enough about the news, guys. Let me take that off and get on with the webinar. Summer updates. So let's have a look and see what Airbnb are up to. This is hot off the press stuff. Now, I sat through Brian Chesky's video here of the Up House. If you watched any of my previous YouTube stuff, we did an expose, a look into that exact house. And that is a listing. That Up House is a listing on Airbnb. It's one of the new icons, they're calling it. So the first major thing that they have announced this summer in their releases is that they're doing themed houses. Now, I'm not going to spend time on this, guys, because I think this is just a gimmick. It's a marketing gimmick. Sometimes when they do releases, the features that Airbnb bring to us is great. If you're a guest, it's probably better. But sometimes Airbnb are announcing stuff that really matters. To me, that's just a gimmick. It's marketing. It's nonsense. I'm ignoring it. It doesn't matter to any host. Doesn't matter to them. You need to be in America and these places, Italy. They're doing a few in London as well. But basically, they're doing an Up House. So they're like, let's make they did a Barbie one last year. So if you've watched any of my videos, Scots Believe It or Not, they did a Barbie themed house from the film. Now they're doing an Up themed house. They're doing other things. X-Men 1987 or some nonsense like that. So the first big thing that Brian Chesky's on stage saying, "Hey, wait till you see this." Of the 30-minute presentation, 25 was telling about these themed events they're doing with celebrities. It's a gimmick. It's nonsense. It's marketing. It's not necessarily a thing for hosts. Maybe some guests, but they're doing 11 of these at the moment. So it may filter into future things where they start doing hundreds of these. But for now, it's just a marketing gimmick for Airbnb. Go and look at it in your own time. I'm not going to spend any meaningful time on it here. So I didn't even put in what they're doing. There's 11 things with a celebrity, like a basketballer, or you can, I don't know, go and sit with a rapper in a house or something. But this does not affect me as a service accommodation operator. I'll say it again for the last time. I think it's just a marketing gimmick to get news sources and people say, "Oh, there's the Up House. Oh, they've done the Barbie themed house." Whatever things are happening with movie releases, they're just going to tack onto that. It's try and get them exposure. So this is free marketing, and I don't really want to give them any more free marketing. It doesn't affect us. It doesn't affect business operators. So I'm going to move on from that. There isn't a lot of updates, guys, on this one, so I'm going to whiz through this. There's nothing really meaningful that's going upset you or change our business model. There's a lot of talk about group trips and people coming together on making shared wish lists and things like that. So again, I'll just talk you through this. More guest user interfaces. So if you're on booking as a guest, you can do things. I think all of these, they're roughly the same. You can go on as a guest, guys, now, and you can invite your friends. You can do it as a shared experience, booking and sharing wish lists, etc. around you on your account, then someone on their account, and maybe trying to book together. They're allowing you to book as a group of people. That makes sense? So shared wish lists. Again, there's nothing major here that's worth updating on. A new message tab. Yay, great. That's spent 6 months developing a new message tab. So this may affect hosts, guys. This new group message tab allows guests to come together to message each other. I think there's still one principal guest that you deal with as the host. But what we don't want is five people getting together with to book an experience in your property and 5 people messaging you, "Is it a hairdryer? Is it a hairdryer? Is it a hairdryer?" or whatever they're going to ask. So I believe they can only, still one principal person will contact you, but they can have a chat behind the scenes. So people booking, again, and if you're a user of Airbnb yourself, super. You can chat with your friends should you want to book experiences. So maybe these updates are more important as a guest user of the platform than as a host. What's this one? So trip invitations. Apparently they've seen this as a big thing. You can share a link to one of your friends. So you can say, "I've booked this property," or "I want to book this property. It looks amazing." Apparently you can now share a link and you can invite your friends. And that's pretty much it. Guys, that is pretty much the summer update. There was a big fanfare going back to the icons thing, creating crazy experiences of going up in a crane in a house and back down. for 10 minutes. You won't be able to sleep in it for health and safety reasons. The money that they've spent to develop that house that can go up and it's meant to be balloons, but it's on a crane, very gimmicky, won't apply to us. Some user interface things for guests, so guests coming together, messaging, etc. But let's have a look at what they've done for hosts, because this is why hosts are interested. What updates have they done for us to make our life better? Well, your feedback, guys. I've read it. There's nothing. I'm just going to be honest. There's nothing. So just assume there's nothing there, guys. All of the put is if you want to be a host or a guest, you can switch more seamlessly between being a host and managing your bookings and booking something else. Editing a photo and stuff like that. So there's nothing major there that affects us. Now that's a good thing for Airbnb, guys. So I was disappointed initially because I'm thinking, they've got an opportunity twice a year to release these new features that make it a much, much better platform for us as business owners, hosts, and that other side, not the guest side. And they haven't done anything, but that's probably a good thing because, hey, they're going to take stuff away from us and give it to guests. So nothing major there apart from switching between guest and host profiles. Some messaging. I call these UX, user interface. So just it's the way you use the app. I have changed the font or the flow of something or made thinking something easier. So essentially it's basic UI. They've released this as a host update, guys, but this is, to me, I have a very limited experience with web developers. We've got some out there in our team. This is things that happen as part of business. So I don't believe there's anything amazing there for hosts at all. The updates that they've put there are essentially what happens on a day-to-day basis. They tweak things, they make menus better, they small incremental features. So essentially what they're saying there is nothing. That's day-to-day stuff. That's bread and butter stuff for a platform. Again, we would have done more updates to the Pillow Partners website in the last week than what they're announcing there for the last 6 months of Airbnb. So it's focused on hosts. Maybe a good thing. I'm not doing things and perfecting the core offering rather than all these fancy things and changing the platform slightly, but not a lot for guests and definitely zero for hosts. I'm just going to put nothing there. So there's nothing of note that I'm going to cover in this video at least. So one thing that they did do for the platform as a whole is an update in a major destructive events policy. This does, now they've done this, but they haven't done it in the host ones because as I said, there's nothing there, but they have updated it, but they've done it out with the host updates so that when people that may read the host updates and don't say, they've messed over landlords again, we don't see that, but we do because I'll look at all these things. So disruptive and major events. I'm going to read that for you. In fact, it's on my iPad. Let me get it. So that I don't need to stare at the screen. And I'm just going to read it. Guests can now cancel if there is a major event. Let's say there's a protest for some absolute woke nonsense. Pick the woke cause of your choice, whatever it is there. If there's a protest, if there's a big event, guests can cancel immediately, regardless of your cancellation policies. So that could be weather, that could be anything. A major event, and it's not you that says that major event, it's them that says it's a guest that makes that major event. So they can even cancel trips. They can cancel mid-trip as well, guys. So we're going to read that out for you. They can cancel mid-trip. So if they're there and something happens, I don't know, let's say there's a tornado at home. Well, perhaps that tornado at home means they need to go home. They'll cancel mid-trip. They get their money back. It would be of no surprise. And again, I haven't seen MD's reaction in this yet, but I know the reaction would be, well, this is us. This is Airbnb against hosts again. Yes, it is. And be under no illusions, guys. Airbnb is not a host platform. So as operators, we never ever want to get upset that Airbnb are taking rights from us and giving them to guests. Airbnb have never claimed that. And I see so much anger in forums and resentment against Airbnb. They've never claimed to care about hosts. They don't. It's about guests. It's about the guest experience. And if you don't confirm with that or you don't agree with that, you can leave the platform. That's their position. And guys, we need to understand that and accept that. So guests can now be in your property and decide to cancel for a exceptional event. But don't worry, if something happens and they cancel the day before or halfway through the event, Airbnb may or may not charge you the fees for that. They might let you away with the commissions if your guest cancels the day before because they want to. So have a look at your updated terms and conditions, guys. You need to, as a host, understand these. One, you want to be prepared if these things happen and you see something happening that may affect your bookings. You need to understand your income can get ripped away at the last minute. They could have been in a day, they could have been in for a few days. They can cancel and leave with no penalty if Airbnb deems that as a major disruptive event. So there's some things you need to be aware of there. Go and read this. Go and read the updated terms and conditions. If you're one person with one property and this never really happens, you don't really need to worry about it. But as a serious operator, my team of guys out there in Pillow and all across the UK need to know this word for word in the cancellation policies. We need to inform our hosts that this might happen. And we also need to inform hosts that if it does happen, it is the way it is, guys. So don't be upset that Airbnb are taking your rights away. They will always do it. Every single update they give will give more to the guests and protect the end consumer and make the experience better for the guests. It's just the way, as they may throw in some stuff for hosts, but again, just that's the nature of the platform. Do not worry about it. So go and read your updates for the exceptional, major disruptive events, because you could be left without a booking. And I don't know if something happens specifically to your area, if this has happened before. But be aware that, hey, guests can just cancel and they can cancel mid-stay as well. So I'm going to go into the shareholder report. This is the interesting part of this. People saying, well, listen, here's some user interface and we've tweaked a menu. To me, that's not news because, like I say, the Pillow team have done more changes to the Pillow Partners platform in a couple of weeks than what they're announcing here. But it's when you dig into the shareholder report, you actually get some stuff. And we're going to look at their earnings as well. Guys, I'm not going to go into too much detail about Airbnb's earnings. Let's assume they're making lots of money. Let's assume they're making lots of profit and they have a massive turnover. The numbers are big. They don't really matter to us. But as long as Airbnb is growing, and again, they've said the first part of that slide, it's the most profitable quarter ever. That tells us that the industry is nice and strong. Unlikely Airbnb is growing and it's getting bigger and everything else is getting smaller and restricting. Now, before we go into the details, a shareholder report is a thing you would give to shareholders to reassure them that they have made the right decision in investing in Airbnb, but also the public, the media, the news, they'll read this and do what I'm doing and say Airbnb had their most profitable month ever. That then is positive publicity and PR for them. So when we're reading shareholder reports, guys, we always need to take things with a little bit of pinch of salt, read between the lines, or look at what hasn't been included. Shareholder reports is essentially always going to be positive, even during lockdown. It's like how a lockdown were months from bankruptcy. They don't say we're months from bankruptcy that there's been an economic hold worldwide. Airbnb is following worldwide trends. We're ahead of the trend by 0.1%. So there's always a positive spin, but lots we can take from this. So let's have a little look at some of their numbers. Listen, most profitable quarter ever. I've done a video in the last few of these, and some are the most profitable first quarter ever. So remember, first quarter will be much better revenue in the summer, depending on what these average out across the world. Lots of bookings. They made revenue of 2.1 billion. Again, I'm not going to. That's too big a number for us. What does that mean worldwide? It's a number that doesn't mean anything really. But net income to 264 million. And EBITDA, if you're reading that, that's basically profit. So they've got 424 million profit. They're making profit, so that is good. So Airbnb look to be in a nice, strong position, and that's good for us as operators, because it doesn't matter how much you may dislike or resent Airbnb. For a lot of people, Airbnb is their principal platform for getting bookings. If Airbnb had to disappear overnight, for some people that they're a single channel business, i.e. they sell via Airbnb and that is that some management companies out there are Airbnb co-hosts. Many individuals are helping other people with co-hosting on Airbnb. And if Airbnb had to go into financial difficulty and disappear, unlikely, a lot of people are losing their livelihoods and they're going to need to switch to other platforms. So a strong Airbnb is kind of good for us as operators, as much as we hate it. We never wish other businesses badly. So not going to get into too much of their thing. Big part of what they are doing in their report is, it starts off before the numbers as the three main focuses. So I've not screenshotted the slides, but we'll just talk about it. I've put the words up there. There are three focuses, the three main things that they talk about in their shareholder report. Number one is making hosting mainstream. You'll have seen this happening over the last 6 months, last year. Making it just a thing. Renting a room in your property is as easy as anything. It's as natural. It's like vacuuming, because vacuum isn't a vacuum. Hoover isn't a vacuum. A Hoover is a brand of vacuum, but we call it hoovering here in the UK. So we put the brand name associated to an actual thing or an industry. And Airbnb has that. It has that attached to it. It's, some people call it the Airbnb industry, but it's not. That's just one marketing channel for the short-term rental industry, the vacation rental industry, the service accommodation industry. So making hosting mainstream, they're attaching their name to hosting, and they're just going to get as many people as possible to do it. If you follow the ads and you look at what Airbnb are doing from a marketing perspective, it's like, hey, are you going away for your summer? Well, rent your house out for 2 weeks. So they're trying to get back to the, not just operators or management companies with hundreds of units that are there all the time. They're trying to get as many listings on Airbnb as possible. And that could be listings for a week while you go on holiday. It could be a few weeks, could be a month. We have the Open Golf in the west coast of Scotland in a few months. This month, don't know. Don't follow golf, but I know it's a big, massive thing for our team in the west of Scotland. Crazy, crazy rates. And that is people coming for the Open Golf from all over the world. We've got people staying there now for a month to build the seats, to get everything in place. So that massive, massive influx of money to our hosts, renting properties for, I think, well, we did it in 2016. I'm not going to share the prices for this one, but last time we did it, we were renting properties for £16,000 for a week. I think the most expensive one was £28,000 for 10 days. And we hosted some of the world's best golfers. Now, that was 14 days or 7 days or 10 days every 8 years or something. But that is what they're trying to do in making hosting mainstream. A few reasons for this, I would imagine. One, it gets a listing on their platform. For the next shareholder report, say we had 85% growth because there's people putting it on for one event. We had COP26, the big economic thing here. They want things on, so that it's on the platform. And if you've registered and put your property on Airbnb and you've put your photos on and you've done your thing, there's a good chance it's much easier to go in and add it when you go on holiday. So I just want people on the platform using it, poking about as hosts. It boosts their numbers, but it also does make it mainstream. It means that people will put it on, not just if they've got a full holiday home, not just if they've got a granny flat or an annex, but once that is on, even a room in the house, they can then click a button to get that extra income. So trying to go back to their roots and make it rooms and houses. Remember, Airbnb was air bed and breakfast, renting places out, airbeds, providing a breakfast in your home to get extra income to facilitate big events in the area. So go back to their roots. Next one is perfecting the core service. Lots on this, guys. Basically saying they've tried experiences, they've tried things. It's a big thing to get this right for Airbnb, making sure the host and the guest experience is good. So I want to go back to the roots and make sure everything works perfect. There was lots of talk of doing other things and expanding and diversification. They are still acquiring other companies. We'll talk about that next. But perfecting the core service is just getting that right for guests. And there hasn't been a lot of updates this time, but in previous updates from Airbnb, they've done some big changes to try and get this core service right. So basically, that's what we're talking about. however many thousand engineers they've got sitting there day to day, like our team out there, making things slightly better, just making the user interface better, less clicks to booking, less risky for guests, better for host, some more ways for them to make money, less cancellations, tighter policies, just making everything flow better. That's the day-to-day business that they're in for their developers. So making that core business better. Next thing, expanding beyond the core service. Now, you've seen this with experiences and trying to make a little bit of money with experiences. So again, this is a longer term one. I've put in brackets there, long term. So the other ones, just that's them doing this now. But they said they expect this to be taking several years. So expanding beyond this. Now, if you've watched Airbnb's acquisitions, they've done some tech companies, some horizontal and vertical integrations, getting some technology at either side of that process. What are Airbnb going to do? I would suspect they're not just going to stick to short-term rentals forever. They will continue their acquisitions. They will continue going on, and they will continue making that core business bigger and better with more revenue streams. Remember when people IPO'd, Powell, I can do what we want. We could stick to short-term rentals. We don't need to diversify or do anything nuts because essentially I don't have shareholders to. I can do number two all day long. I can perfect that business and be the best in the UK and then expand it across the world. But as a company that is public, that is IPO'd, that has shareholders, they will sit there and there'll be pressure on Airbnb every quarter to grow, to get bigger, to get more income streams, to provide that shareholder dividend back to the investors. So they're always going to need to be looking. We're going to acquire organic market share in the market we're in. We're going to go into new overseas markets. We're going to get bigger overseas markets, and we're going to go into totally new markets. That's the nature of larger businesses that are public. So expanding on the core services. Let's keep an eye open for some interesting acquisitions and partners that Airbnb are going to have. So some trends and predictions here, guys. Let's put that slide up. Some trends and predictions. Now, these are my predictions. These are the trends that I see happening, and nothing extraordinary here, guys. I'm sure if you're an operator, you will agree. More protection for guests. That's just the way the world is. Not specific to Airbnb, but there are going to be a lot more things in place. Every release was going to be, hey, I'll give some examples. Better cancellation policies for guests, less options of cancellation policies as hosts, bigger penalties for guests, for hosts, less penalties for guests, tighter things all the time for hosts, a little bit more leniency for guests. So I think guests are going to get more and more protection. I put that in not as a negative, guys, but as a realistic operator looking at the future. This is what I would expect. I'm not going to see an update and get upset that Airbnb are more protection for guests. That's the way it is. That's the way it's always going to be, guys, unless there's a fundamental change, but I don't see it. It's always going to be that. Remember, do not get passionate and upset about Airbnb taking the rights away from hosts. They're not there for hosts. They're there for guests. So you're a supplier to Airbnb. We are just a cog in the wheel. The guests are the people that pay the money. We pay the fees. We are suppliers to Airbnb. So it's always going to be the end customer, the end consumer. Think of everything like credit cards and everything. Anything financial is always the end consumer that gets protected. And I think Airbnb's business model is going to continue on like that. So expect, not a worse platform, I don't mean that, guys, but expect more stuff for guests and less stuff for hosts. Moving to the next prediction, I'm going to say more punishment. I've put punishment in brackets there just so that I don't need to put lots of text on. Excuse me. So there's going to be harsher penalties. I think there's going to be more bannings and bits and bobs for people that don't meet the supplier standards. Guys, there's so much supply on Airbnb. Remember, the main focus is making hosting mainstream. There's more listings on Airbnb than ever. That's going to continue to grow. The purpose, the passion about this, the main shareholder thing. Point number one was getting more listings, massive growth, and making it mainstream. With something being mainstream means it's not specialists, it's not professionals like us that are in the market, and it means that people will just put any old shit on. So I think there's going to be a lot more, I'll say punishment, but You get what I mean with the word punishment. There's going to be less rights for us, and they're not going to tolerate bad listings, bad customer experience. Things like your messaging, replying to messaging, not getting that done fast enough is going to be a problem. We've got teams, we've got people in the customer experience team. We get back to messages instantly in Airbnb, the 24/7. 15 people, 16 people in our customer experience department, literally responding to Airbnb messages as they come in. We don't, well, it's not for us like a host says, oh, I'm at a wedding this weekend, so I'm not going to respond to a message. The algorithms are going to punish you by not responding fast enough. So we need to understand that. So we may need to up again, we may need to change things, but I think there's going to be more penalties for hosts. More banning of listings for other reasons is my next prediction, guys. You could have a great listing, you could have it perfect, you could respond to your things, but the bigger, wider picture of what is happening in society means that if you have sent a tweet that an AI algorithm does not like, and I have said this for years, I said it before it was happening, I say it now, this isn't a prediction, this is happening. People argue all the time and say an Airbnb would never be banned because a tweet you sent 5 years ago. Yes, 100% would. Lots of things happening in America at the moment regards elections, and I can guarantee if you put a Facebook post or something that may go against the political leanings of Airbnb, which will be left-wing and woke, you may get your listing banned. It's happening. People are getting their listing bans for no reason because of something on their social media. So what's important to you guys? Mouthing off on social media and telling people your views on whatever thing that's happening in the world and getting your listing banned, or just been forced to toe the line. It grates on you guys. I get it. You may have opinions you want to air, but remember, they could be AI algorithms will be scraping your Facebook and your Twitter, etc. And if it doesn't like it, it's going to ban your listings. Now, and I'm not saying this in a conspiracy theory, China social credit system. If you put something that was deemed as racist, sexist, or anything against a religion, and it's picked that up, a tweet from 5 years ago, it's going to fall below the minimum standard of you being a host. So it's insane for me to say a tweet that you sent 5 years ago, or a short, or a TikTok you made would ban an Airbnb. Listen, how is that, guys? It's happening. It's happening daily. It will have happened as I speak on this recording, because the reason behind it, if somebody's been racist or sexist or violent or horrible or saying horrible things online, Airbnb is going to pick that up and say, you can't be a host. You can't look after people. So where does that line end? Where does it start? What can you put online? How's checking these? Well, it's certainly not a person in Airbnb. It'll all be algorithm and AI based. So if you're putting words, I can't think of, if you put any words in it, picks it up, your listing could be banned. So we need to be certain to think about things like that. Again, you're going to get banned for credit cards and banking and everything moving forward. Everything's just going to be controlled by something, and you're instantly banned. You may need to apply or challenge that, but it's going to instantly get delisted, and that may be able to be solved out because it's an AI picked it up accidentally or wrongly. But guys, how long is that process going to take in your Airbnb listing? Is often, if you're a single channel operator just concentrating on Airbnb, your income is gone for that time, and your competitors are getting it. So something to be aware of in the wider picture in life, not just Airbnb. Sustainability, guys. Listen, you need to be living under a rock. If your property is not sustainable, ethical, any woke words you want to put in there, guys, any nonsense that's happening in the world, is going to need to be carbon neutral. Make no mistake about it, your property is going to need to toe the line. If you want to understand what this is, the Sustainable Development Goals, Google the 1718 Sustainable Development Goals, World Economic Forum, that's what your property is going to need to do. You're going to need to have policies in place for absolutely everything. We have these. We're going through B Corp at the moment, so we will be applying to be a poster boy for the World Economic Forum, and heartbreaking as it is, but sustainability needs to be a big part. And don't think just because you've got one operator, you don't need to apply by the World Economic Forum Sustainable Development Goals. Every business is going to need to do it. So moving forward, guys, I think we've got a few years for this, guys. How far is it before you need to prove the supply chain and the carbon footprint of your laundry or your consumables. How long away is that? It'll be sooner than you would think, guys. I can tell you that. So a wee slide here. Airbnb, is it still worth it? And I put this in not because it's my thoughts. I want to leave you with this before we finish up, guys. A lot of people are trying to get off Airbnb. I see it in the forums. I see a lot of people on the forums, the Airbnb community groups as hosts, trying to get off it, trying to minimize bookings. Of course, there is the book direct movement. Everybody wants direct bookings. If we had the choice, we would never take an Airbnb booking on the whole over a direct booking because we have more control over it. It's just better. And the guest gets a better experience in Airbnb if it's a proper company, I would argue as well. You can cut a lot of the nonsense out, but they get a little bit more security from their point of view. So is it worth it? That's not for me to say, but I'm just going to say, guys, Airbnb should be one platform of hundreds that you use. I record this on a Monday. We had a leadership meeting. The guys told me the stats of what are direct bookings, VRBO, Airbnb, Expedia, Booking.com. And it's good for us to see that every week we go, give or take 1 week or two, but every week in the last year, our direct bookings are going up every week, and the share of the OTAs, the online travel agents, are going down. So whatever that would be, 33% for Airbnb was 32%, was 28%, whatever those numbers are. And they're averaged out across a lot of properties across the UK. Is it still worth it? Yes, it should be a key part. It should be a key part of your marketing strategy. Why not? If it gets to the stage where it's so unworkable and unlikable for you, you can get your channel manager to increase the prices so that you're getting bookings from other sources. And if you do get a booking from Airbnb, it's at a great price that you're happy with, and it's worth the extra hassle and drama over the space of a year or indeed the lifetime of your business. I'm going to argue that Airbnb is still worth it. I haven't been that negative in Airbnb. Listen, Airbnb is a great partner for us at Pillow. We get a lot more help and support than the average person. We've got an account manager with meetings. We can phone up the person on their mobile. We can email them direct. We can get a lot of the cancellation fees adjusted and sorted, and we can do loads of things that the average person can't because we're a large operator. So we have a much different experience to the one person with one property operator for Airbnb. Because we have such a large amount of listings, we get that different access to a lot of people. So our experience should be better, but again, we're bringing more to Airbnb as well. So for us, it's definitely worth it. A key partner for us, and a key platform that get guests from all over the world. So a big pushback against Airbnb. There should be a push to get your own direct bookings and build your own bookings in case Airbnb bans your listing, in case something happens, in case it falls below the supplier standard that they require, and you can no longer operate there. It's a dangerous position to be in, but it should be a strong part of your overall marketing strategy. So my suggestion there is it is definitely worth it. And guys, I'm just going to finish up because we've just been doing lots of events. I started with the 2 events we're doing this week. We are bringing people together every single month. This is a recurring event. I'll share the Eventbrite link. Let me find it and put it on. Coming to spend a day with me and my team. I'm not going to get into this in too much detail. Click the link wherever you may see it. Hopefully, if I put that there, it'll go to all the platforms we're advertising on. I'll bring that over there. Don't know if you can click it in the slides. I'm looking at the HQ command center here, so I can't see what you're seeing, but I suspect that's going to go on to Facebook. Guys, that's our day. Please, wherever you see this, there are discount codes. I'm not going to do it. If you've watched to the very, very end, I'll give you a discount code for 50% off that. In fact, is it here? It is webinar. I've put it on. Fantastic. So take the code webinar 50. You'll get 50% off that. That is our discovery days. What are those? Nice and simple. It's not a crazy get rich quick scheme. If service accommodation is interesting to you, you come here, you spend a day with the team, we look at the 5 ways you can make money from service accommodation. We are doing some business planning. You're going to get loads of resources. You're going to get loads of freebies. You're going to come here and leave with a clear plan and a passion. Some people have done this and said, I came there, Scott, I paid you the money. It was the best money I ever paid. And I didn't want to do service accommodation. That's really the purpose of the day. You're going to leave eliminating it as a strategy because you're going to get access to me and the team. They're going to tell you, we're not here to sell anything. We don't have any ulterior motives once you're here. If that strategy is not right for you or you're not right for the service accommodation industry, guys, you will leave happy knowing that that's not right for you, knowing you've had the truth and there's no conflict of interest. We're not here to sell you masterminds or courses. You can go and manage your own property. There's nothing at the end with a conflict of interest. But some people say, cool, I definitely want to do service accommodation. I want to be a host. I want to work with Airbnb. How do I do it? What's the plan? So guys, that is the discovery day. A little bit at the end there, just because those normally sell out every month. We'll put the first 3 tickets, I think, each month. A little discount code for anybody that watches My Nonsense online. So keep that webinar code, put that in. It will only work for the service accommodation discovery days. Guys, thank you very much for your time. I'm going to finish up here now. I have lots to do today, and that has been the updates for Airbnb for this summer. Thank you, guys. Cheers. Have a fantastic day.